if I ever get really pissed off, what I try and do is I really try and see beyond myself. I really try and literally, in my mind, I will literally sit and imagine myself sitting on this chair and looking at myself from above and realizing two things. One, how unimportant my issue is. And when I say unimportant, I don't mean unimportant to me, I mean unimportant to the world. Like, in regards to the stars in the sky and the solar system, and fucking, is any of my problems going to stop the sun rising? Is any of my problems going to stop the tide coming in? Like, it's just the reality of the world is that how much I am upset, it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. That's the first thing. And two is that anger can be channeled into anything. Anger can be channeled into inaction as much as action. So, like, if a girl really pisses me off, I'll take all that anger and channel it into not texting. That's an inaction. But I'll sit and think, you know what? I know what the right thing to do is. If you sit long enough, no matter how angry you get, you take a few seconds as a full-grown man, sit, decide the right course of action, and put the anger in the correct direction.
I am tired of sympathy. Sympathy doesn't work for anybody. I'm not going to sit here and be sympathetic for people who say they're too sad to try hard and be their best. Guess what? Perhaps I was sad every time I did exactly what I was supposed to do and trained anyway. Perhaps I was afraid when I fought anyway. Perhaps I was tired when I worked anyway. This is how you get ahead in life. I don't have a fucking ounce of sympathy for these people who sit here and say, well, I feel this way, so I can't. Then don't do it. Stay down there. The winners are at the top, and the winners at the top don't give a shit about how they feel. We wake up and we perform regardless of how we feel day after day. So if I'm going to ignore my own feelings, I'm certainly not going to take into consideration anybody else's. Yeah. Why am I going to ignore how I feel and make sure I'm constantly performing regardless, flawlessly, and then sit and go, oh, but he doesn't feel good, so he's allowed to fuck up. No, you are not. You're not allowed to fuck up to your ancestors or to God or to yourself. You have to perform. This is what being a man is about. The baseline of masculinity is doing things you don't feel like doing. I can't comment on being a woman because I'm not one. But the baseline of masculinity as a whole is the thing that makes a good man a man is that he does what he doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to work and he works anyway. He doesn't want to go to war and he fights anyway. He doesn't want to get up, he gets up anyway. That's the whole point of it. We didn't want to die in the Titanic. Guess what happened? We died in the Titanic. You can't sit there as a man and say you don't feel like it. You're not allowed to not feel like it. You're supposed to do it anyway, regardless. Yeah. So when a man sits there and says, oh, but you don't understand, I'm struggling with motivation. If you are struggling with the motivation to be a winner, then stay a fucking loser. No problem. Stay a loser. Don't care. Because in my circle, there's no losers around me. Your energy is disgusting. I find it revolting. I don't like weakness around me, even near me. Even people coming up saying hello to me. If you're depressed, don't even shake my hand. I do not have time for losers on any regard. Winners only. But if I meet somebody who's broke, I think they're an idiot. And I catch myself going, is that bad? Am I elitist? Or do I sit down now and I just say, no, I started lower than you and beat you. How are you poor? You're lazy.
Okay, fair enough. I was gonna say, why would you say if they're an idiot if you were once in that position as well?
No, I was, but I got out. And I think one of there's only three reasons you can't get rich in the world today, which is either you're stupid, you're lazy, or you're arrogant. And I find the most common one is lazy and arrogant. It's not stupid. There's nobody at home who is too stupid to become rich. I'm sure anyone watching this podcast right now, if you were to sit down next to me and I were to say, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, you could do it. Of course you could. But you're too lazy to learn how to do it yourself.
And you're too arrogant to listen.
And you're too arrogant to listen. It's not about being stupid. You're lazy or arrogant. It's one of the two. Those are the two most common factors of people. So when I meet people who have truly failed and they pretend to me that they didn't want to fail, I know they're one of the three. And it's usually arrogant.
What beliefs did your father instill in you that you think impacted you the most?
I understood I had a duty to my last name and a duty to my ancestors. I understood the best way to show tribute to my ancestors is to be massively successful. I want everybody who's watching this video to understand that if you are not extremely successful, all of your parents, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, everyone you love and care about will be forgotten in time. Nobody will give a shit about who you are, and by extension, the people who sacrificed their lives for you to exist will fade into obscurity. We can sit here right now and talk about Genghis Khan, and we will talk about his parents because he's such an exceptional person. Where did he come from? I understood that one day everybody I love is going to die. If I wanted to be remembered and respected, I have to do such amazing things that they talk about my origin story. My father was an amazing man, but he is primarily spoken about today because of me. If I was normal, he would have been forgotten to time. Do you love the people who have raised you? Do you love yourself? Do you have enough self-confidence and enough self-respect to want your last name to mean something? When people say the last name Tate, that means something. If you're gonna go up, if you're gonna join a competition, doesn't matter what it is, an arm wrestle, fucking bungee jumping, anything, and they said you're competing against Tate, the second you hear that name, you're nervous. I have made my name valuable. I've been instilled with this duty to perform because I understand if I don't, everybody I have ever loved is going to fade into obscurity, and I am going to fade into obscurity, lost into the passage of time. You must decide. Do you want to matter? Do you want your bloodline to matter? Do you want your son to be raised in a family name that he is proud of? Or do you want to be a fucking nobody? If you want to be a nobody, fine. Go be a nobody. But don't lie to yourself. Don't sit here and say, I don't want to be a nobody, but I lack motivation. Because that's not true. If you don't want to be a nobody, you never lack motivation. You either want to be a somebody or you fucking don't. You have to decide. You can't sit here and fool yourself and fool God by lying and saying, I don't want to be a nobody and I want my last name to matter and I want to be rich and I want to live a perfect life and I want to be top G, but I struggle with motivation. Then you're a liar. Because I never in my life have ever struggled with motivation because I knew who I wanted to be and I knew what I had to do to get there.
You have to be good enough on your worst day to beat your opponent on his best day. On the day he feels motivated and gets out of bed and wants to fight and he's raring to go and he's on the top of his game and you feel the absolute opposite. You want to lay in bed, you don't want to move, you don't want to go anywhere, but you have to get up and have to fight this man. You have to be good enough to beat him anyway. You have to be that good. Life often gives you chances and you get one shot. You don't get to replay them, you don't get to rerun them. Even the ones that you do get to rerun, you do get to replay. I guarantee if you pulled it off first time every time, your life would be completely different than if you pulled it off on the second time every time. It'd be a different trajectory. There'd be no failure in the mix. The air wouldn't be stained with the stench of your inadequacy. You must be that good, that no matter what happens in life, even when the Matrix attacks you, even when you get curveballed, you can put on a nice suit, you can pull out some money from somewhere, put on a diamond watch, pull it off. You have to be that guy. And the way you're going to do that is by training. You have to practice. And you have to be held accountable amongst other men who are extremely capable in all realms. You can't be hanging around with losers because losers will allow you to lose. You need to be hanging around with winners because winners will not allow you to lose. We hate losers. We don't even like them around us. They stain our air.